Most of us have grown up with the routine of having dessert after dinner, or clean your plate and eat, and then you can have your dessert. So already the expectation has been set that we should have dessert every time, every single day after dinner. Or we should have dessert when we do what we're supposed to do, like clean our plate. Or we get dessert when we have good behavior. And we don't get dessert when we have bad behavior. And all of these things have really done a number on us. The reality of the situation is we've set up bad routines, or our parents set up bad routines for us and habits. And we are all creatures of habit. So what we need to do is set up healthier habits around having desserts that you want and making sure that they're a part of your meal plan on a weekly basis, not a daily basis. Because the reality is you can have all of these desserts. You can eat everything on this table. You just can't eat every single thing all at the same time. You can have every single thing that you want. You just can't have every single thing that you want every single time that you want it. It's about planning ahead. Food is fuel. All of this food right here will fuel our bodies. This isn't the most efficient fuel, but it still is fuel. So we have to use this fuel in the best way that we possibly can. It's kind of like doing a bad thing the best way that you can. Speaking of bad things, you want to change your terminology around desserts. Desserts are not bad. There's nothing bad about having a dessert. So set yourself up for positives by planning ahead. First, you need to figure out, are you a quantity eater or a quality eater? Two completely different things. Once you know this about yourself, you can plan to have your dessert. If you are a quantity person, you're going to be more satisfied by eating something like this. Why? Because you can have a lot of it. Whereas if you're a quality person, you're probably going to have about a fourth of this piece of cake. That would be a serving size. Now we go into the planning. You know what you're doing this week. You know exactly when if you're going to happy hour with coworkers on Friday night. You know if you're going to the movies with your boyfriend on Saturday night. You know if you're going to your nephew's birthday party on Sunday and there's going to be cake. And you need to choose. If all of these things are happening in the same weekend, it's going to be challenging to continue to lose weight and consume every single thing that you want at all of those events. If you like cocktails, happy hour may be tough on Friday. Maybe it's hard to say no to, 2 cocktails. And it might be hard to say no to the popcorn on Saturday. And it might be hard to say no to the birthday cake that you love on Sunday. But if you plan ahead for it, you don't have to tell yourself no. You can tell yourself yes. Realize what you have planned for the week and then plan for it. You need to choose, what is the thing that you want the most? Do you want the cake at the birthday party? Do you want the cocktails at happy hour? Or do you want the popcorn at the movie theater? Because the reality is you can't have all of these things and continue to lose weight, but if you make a plan for it, you can have one this week, one next week, one the week after, and you're constantly looking forward. Something that I always tell people is stop looking behind you. You're not going to be able to make up for what's already happened, but you can plan ahead. So now for the planning. I've decided that the birthday cake on Sunday is going to be the thing that I want the most. Why? Because I know my sister goes to this bakery that I grew up having cake from. It is the most amazing bakery they have. It has the best frosting that I've ever had in my life. So I want that cake. That's what I'm going to choose over the happy hour cocktails and over the popcorn at the movies. I'm going to make other choices for those events, but I am going to have the cake at the birthday party on Sunday. So how do I set that cake to be sort of a healthy option so that I don't get on the scale on Monday and be like, oh my gosh, I put on 2 pounds or I didn't lose anything? What you need to do is, think about the who when you're making a decision about what you're going to have and when. This is a family gathering. It makes you feel good to hang out with family. That is one of the reasons why you want to have the cake, because it's coming from the bakery that you grew up having it from. So you have all of these good feelings around the cake. When? the party's on Saturday, or Sunday, sorry. The party is on Sunday. And by picking a day at the end of the week, you can set yourself up for success all throughout the week by making sure that you do you're working out every day, you're burning the calories that you need to burn so that you can look forward to this cake on Sunday. In thinking ahead about having the cake, there's some things that you need to do for planning. You really need to understand that this is a carbohydrate. Most every dessert is a carbohydrate. In one of our other nutritional videos, we talk about why it's important to balance your protein and your carbohydrates, because it keeps your blood sugar levels stable, so your body isn't storing fat. The last thing you want to do is eat a piece of cake and not have a protein with it. So ask your sister, what's the menu for the party on Sunday? Pizza, chips and dip, cake, those are all high carbohydrate options. Offer to bring a bowl of meatballs or some shrimp cocktail or something like that you can eat. Something that's a high protein option that you can pair up with your delicious cake. Now realize also that you do have to take portion size into consideration. This piece of cake probably should be cut into about 3 slices. This is too large of a slice for a single portion. So ahead of time, just ask your sister when you're kind of seeing like how big the pieces are that are like floating out there, you know what, make mine a half slice. Now, if you're a quantity person, this is the quality. We're going for the cake. If you're a quantity person and you asked her what the menu was and you know that you're going to be craving sweet stuff because that cake is there, but maybe the cake isn't necessarily the thing that you want. It's the whole, I'm at a birthday party, I should eat cake, I should eat something sweet. Then you bring your own dessert option along with your protein, I guess. But you could actually have 2 bags of these so you feel like you're able to eat more. The other tips that I have when you're at some sort of an event like that, have something in your hand at all times so that you're not constantly like wanting to go over and like have more. So water, a low calorie drink, and keep yourself busy. And then the other thing is when you are having your dessert, enjoy it. Don't be walking around talking to people and eating it. Pretty soon you've eaten the cake and you didn't even realize that you had it. Take the cake. Enjoy it, sit down, relax, and have the protein beforehand as your meal choice. And you're all set for another 3 hours. And if you're a person that has some binging issues and you feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm hyperventilating, like I really want to have more cake, I'm gonna walk by and have a bite, just stop yourself. Take a deep breath and realize that you can have another piece of cake in 3 hours if you really need to. Just put it off, because odds are you'll get out of that feeling, you'll realize why you had it, and you'll be able to make a different choice in 3 hours when it's time for you to have another meal. As much as you plan ahead and you can have success week after week, there is going to come a time when you're going to be in a situation where you really are having a hard time saying, oh, I set myself up for Sunday, I'm really gonna have that cake on Sunday, so I don't really need to have this now. Sometimes it's going to happen that that's gonna be a challenging thing for you. I have a story. Last week I was driving home from work and there's this bakery on the side, and it, again with the cake, right? But they have these cupcakes that are filled with icing in the middle. So good. And it's on my way home, it's on my way to work, and it's on my way home from work. A lot of times I don't think about it anymore, but there are still times, especially on stressful days, when I'm driving home from work and I'm thinking about this bakery. And there was this day last week, I'm thinking about the bakery, and I find myself, oh my gosh, I'm almost there, I'm gonna drive past. And all of a sudden I'm like almost getting into an accident as I'm veering into the left-hand lane and I'm curving into the driveway. I mean, there's cars like screeching to a halt, and I get into literally, I don't care. I'm going to park and I'm going in and getting one of these cupcakes. And I go in there and I'm looking at all of them and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get 6 of these. Because you know what, I can't eat alone, so I should buy one for each of the, the kids and the husband and all of that. So after I buy the cupcakes, I get into my car and I'm like just tearing the tape off of the thing, and I just grab one and I'm like pulling the paper off of it, and I take a big bite out of it, and it is so sweet and it is so rich, and it really was so good. And I realized after this bite, as I'm thinking and I'm biting into it, I really don't need this right now. This happens after you've practiced and practiced and practiced this whole like planning out thing. And sometimes you're gonna wanna eat the whole thing. But that day, I didn't wanna eat the whole thing. I put it back in the box and I drove home. As I'm walking into the house, I'm like, I can't set my family up for this. It's like the middle of the week. You know, like they all want to have their things on the weekend too. So I took the bag and I put it in the laundry room behind the laundry basket so nobody would see it. This is another thing. If you're hiding food, bad. Eventually, the cupcakes ended up in the trash, which was the good news. So on a day when you take that bite of that cake, even though you hadn't planned for it, or that cupcake, and you weren't able to convince yourself that look forward to Sunday, and you do devour the whole cupcake and maybe go into a second one, you need to just forgive yourself. Realize there is no perfect. You just consumed a few too many calories. All you need to do is go and burn some of those off. Maybe on your way home you still have time to hit the gym and get on the treadmill for 30-45 minutes before you get home. Right then and there, you're like turning yourself around. You know, maybe that's not an option, but you plan an extra workout or an extra long workout the next day or an extra workout that week. Realize that it's your currency. You know, if you go and you consume too much, you need to spend it. You need to get it out. We always have to be even. It's all about balance. I was speaking about the routines that people get themselves into. And if any of you have kids, this is kind of one of those things where it kind of enlightens people sometimes when I tell this story. But I talk about this often with my kids because I don't want them to grow up with the same things that I grew up with, like the whole not planning ahead and all of that, because I'm constantly finding myself stressed out in situations where I want things, I want food when I didn't necessarily plan for it. So my daughter plays hockey and she is on the hockey team, and sometimes we drive early in the morning. We have to leave the house at 5:45 to get to hockey. And there's a dad that every hockey practice, and this is a girls team, brings a humongous box of donuts, all different kinds, chocolate glazed. I mean, those things are monsters. They're like this big. And my daughter, she, bless her heart, is exactly like me. She's built like me, and she's a kid. She loves donuts, she loves sweets. So, it's almost like she's like thinking about the fact that she's going to hockey and she gets to have donuts, which are two completely like conflicting ideas, really. And so on the way to hockey, and it's about a 30-minute drive, I'm in a position of being able to help her to start learning this process before she becomes my age. So we talk about it on the way to hockey. I don't make a big deal about it. I just say, hey, Hope, remember, Kit's dad is gonna bring that big box of donuts again today. And she's like, yeah, I know. And I said, well, you know what, I'm wondering, we're going to a hockey game tonight, and remember, you all usually want to have, some sort of junk food when we go to the hockey game tonight. Do you think you'd rather have the donut this morning, or do you think you might want to have junk food at the hockey game? And last week, she chose the hockey game. And when she was offered a donut in the locker room, she said no. And I didn't put the words in her mouth or anything. And then when we went to the hockey game, she had, she had whatever she had, the caramel popcorn. I think it's that zebra popcorn that she likes. So she was looking forward to that. So that's the good news. Now on another day, she didn't make the same choice, and she chose to have the donut, and she had a half of a donut and saved the other half for her sister. And we went up and ordered some breakfast sausage to go with it. So those are just some ways that if you're thinking about it like as an adult and you're trying to plan, you can use that example to try to plan out your own day. I find real life examples to be really helpful. I always like hearing about how other people deal with things, because it's one thing to teach a lesson and it's another thing to really put it in action. Talking about setting up habits and routines. We are, as I said before, we are people who thrive within a routine. And we are going to either have a healthy habit or an unhealthy habit. And when you're an adult and you've grown up having these sweets after dinner, whatever the case may be, you find yourself sometimes really wanting to have something sweet on a daily basis. And there are some options for that that are not dessert items. And one of those things that I recommend are protein bars. I mean, there's one in here that's like, where is it? Oh, I didn't eat it, haha. I had one for breakfast this morning. Chocolate chip cookie dough. And you know, while this isn't gonna give you the same, I mean, it's not like dipping your spoon into a big vat of cookie dough. I mean, it's pretty darn close. They've come a long way with these bars. This may not be the healthiest bar out there, but it is a balanced bar. I mean, it has protein and carbohydrates. And again, it's about doing something, you know, the best way that you possibly can. This isn't going to destroy, you know, your healthy eating plan. This is just going to help you stay on track. Now, there are other things as well. The reason that I like the protein bar is because it's in this little package. This is all packaged up. I know exactly how many grams of protein and carbohydrates are in this thing. And if I eat the whole thing, I know that this will fuel my body for about 2 hours. Keeping this in mind, this is like a chocolate yogurt dip with fruit. So this fruit has a lot of vitamins in it. It also has a lot of sugar. You have to realize that this is a carbohydrate. Unlimited amounts of fruit are still not a great option. However, if you portion out your fruit, and this is kind of a good little size of fruit here, and you just dip your fruit into the chocolate, you'll get that same nice sweet taste, but it's a healthier version. But again, I just want to caution you because often people think, oh, I'm having fruit, I can have unlimited amounts. That's not the case. So just dip it in. There are some other things, I mean, there's like this all natural organic chocolate, way less sugar than a regular chocolate bar. So half of this bar has about 11 grams of sugar, and a Snickers bar, which you know is smaller than one of these protein bars, has about 35 grams of sugar. So you can do things like this to set yourself up for success as well. But you really have to ask yourself, what are you satisfied with? Because that's the bottom line. If you're not satisfied, there's no sense in eating half of this bar. If you taste it and you don't like it, do not cram it down your throat because you didn't satisfy yourself and you're just gonna cram this down your throat along with maybe this piece of cake. So be realistic. So a few last things to leave you with. Know yourself. Are you a quantity person or a quality person? Plan ahead. Plan for that thing at the end of the week that you really are looking forward to. Make sure you have a protein option with it and plan your workout so that you're burning those extra calories. Portion size. Make sure that it's not this piece of cake, small piece of cake, and if you have to have another one in 3 hours, you can. There is no perfect. If you have a moment of weakness during the week and you go for the cupcake and you eat the whole thing, just add in some extra calorie burning time on the elliptical machine. And finally, you worked hard all week, you planned for it, you had a really successful week. Enjoy the dessert. So just keep moving and looking forward, and you will get to your goals.